Hi guys! So this is the part 3 and part 4 of our Ratio Med Search series. So pinagsama ko na sila para isang take na lang ganun. Okay, so first question, when preparing a male client, age 51 for surgery to treat appendicitis, okay, the nurse formulates a nursing diagnosis of risk for infection related to inflammation, perforation, and surgery. What is the rationale? So tinatanong ang the rationale ng nursing diagnosis natin, which is the risk for infection related to inflammation, perforation, and surgery. Does it sound like a pathophysiology to you? Kasi diba usually the appendicitis, it leads to rupture. Usually, yun naman talaga nangyayari. So, ang tanging treatment lamang sa appendicitis is no other than surgery itself. Dapat tanggalin si appendicitis. Yung namamagang appendix. Kasi eventually magra-rupture lang yon and then it will lead to something serious like peritonitis. A much larger infection, mas mahirap na siyang i-treat and mas life-threatening na siya. So, hindi natin hahayaang mag-lead sa ganon. So, much better, tanggalin na lang siya, di ba? Ganun. So, let's go over the options. Number 1, obstruction of the appendix may increase venous drainage and cause the appendix to rupture. 2, obstruction of the appendix reduces arterial blood flow, leading to ischemia, inflammation, and rupture of the appendix. 3, the appendix may develop gangrene and rupture, especially in the middle-aged client. Or 4, infection of the appendix diminishes necrotic arterial blood flow and increases venous drainage. Okay. You know what, guys? This is the trickiest part of PNLE. It uses a lot of intimidating, combinations of words na malilito ka kung ano nga ba talaga to. Is it positive or is it negative? Or, is it aligned with the symptoms and implications of the certain type of disease or pathophysiology? For example, this one, the appendicitis. So, ito. First question. May increased venous drainage. What happens ba sa appendicitis? Diba nagkakaroon ng blockage or obstruction ng fecalith or yung sinasabi nating paing maliit? Yung fecalith, paing maliit. So, nagbablock siya doon sa appendicitis. Usually, kasi matitigas ito. Fecal matter na tinatawag natin. So nagbablock siya dun sa appendix. And now, kapag nag-block siya dun sa appendix, what happens? Diba yung gastric pathway natin or yung GI tract natin, meron namang mucus talaga yan. And merong mga bacteria dyan. That is naturally or normal flora na ng gut natin. Maraming bacteria dyan. And once na nabarahan siya, of course, merong mga bacteria doon. Merong bacteria, merong mucus, and natatrap sila doon. And once na natrap sila doon sa appendix, ano mangyayari? Diba, ang nature ng bacteria is to proliferate. Magpaparami yan, magpaparami. And because of the obstruction of the fecalith, nagkakaroon din ng necrosis doon sa area. Ibig sabihin, yung blood flow doon, hindi na maganda kasi nga obstructed na siya. And dahil inflamed siya, nahihirapan yung blood vessels to supply blood doon sa area. Kasi nga, wala na, obstructed na, namamaga na, hindi na maganda yung blood flow doon sa area na yun. Namamatay yung tissues. That's the reason why nagiging mababa or mahina yung venous drainage doon. And eventually, hindi na siya nagkakaroon ng supply. Nagiging necrotic na siya. Dahil din doon sa blockage. Dahil doon sa inflammation na nangyayari. So, increased venous drainage is already wrong. Kasi nga, obstructed nga yan ng fecalith. Okay, so number 3, the appendix may develop gangrene and rupture in the middle-aged client. Okay, by statistics, the usual age of or age group of affected people ng appendicitis is much younger. Younger people, age 10 to 30 commonly. And it's common, very common. And as you observe naman, maraming cases niyan sa mga bata, di ba? So, hindi siya medyo sound. For middle-aged client, medyo upper na yan, upper age range na yan. So, hindi siya tama. And, hindi niya ina-answer yung question, ano daw ba yung rationale nung tinatanong dito na nursing diagnosis? Hindi niya ina-answer, hindi niya sinasagot eh. Nag-provide lang siya nito. So what, diba? Hindi siya connected, it doesn't sound right. So number 4, infection of the appendix diminishes necrotic arterial blood flow. Nagdi-diminish daw ng necrotic arterial blood flow. Necrotic arterial blood flow, nagdi-diminish ba siya? O parang napopromote? Hindi ba parang napopromote siya? Nagne-necrosis yan kasi nga nagbo-block, kaya nga siya pwedeng mag-gangrene. That's true. Kasi nga, nawawala siya ng venous drainage eh. Meaning, walang blood supply doon. Isa pa yun, namamaga siya. So, mas nai-impede yung blood flow doon sa area. So, hindi siya, nag-i-increase. Ito po, nag-i-increase daw ng venous drainage. This is very wrong. So, same with number 1 yung idea niya. So, that's the only sound answer here. And it answers the nursing diagnosis which speaks about the pathophysiology of appendix, which is nagli-lead siya sa inflammation or risk for infection related to inflammation, which is true. Appendicitis, itis, may inflammation. So, may infection na pwedeng mangyari from the inflammation kasi may proliferation ng bacteria. And perforation, meaning nabutas na si appendix or nag-rupture na, so magli-lead talaga siya sa surgery. And before pa mag-rupture yun, dapat mag-intervene na with surgery. So may surgical intervention na doon. Lagi yung tatandaan to answer what is being asked. Hindi lang yun yung tama. Like for example, a statement is right, oo, andun tayo, tama siya. Pero hindi naman siya related dun sa tinatanong. Kasi ang tinatanong dito is yung rationale daw. Ano daw yung rationale ng nursing diagnosis? So, dito ka titingin sa risk of infection related to inflammation, perforation, and surgery. Ano ba yung rationale niyan? So, a male client with cholelithiasis has a gallstone lodged in the common bile duct. When assessing this client, the nurse expects to note 1. Yellow sclerae, 2. Light amber urine, 3. Circumoral pallor, or 4. Black tarry stools. Okay. So, first and foremost, you have to know the pathophysiology, what happens ba kapag ka nagkaroon ng blockage si common bile duct. For example, this one, gallstone, anong nangyayari? Anong magiging manifestations niya eventually? So, first, alamin natin, ano ba yung common bile duct? This is the pathway of bilirubin. So, ngayon, ano ba nangyayari? Ano ba si bilirubin? Paano ba siya na-form? First, nagkakaroon tayo ng RBC na namamatay. Yung RBC natin, namamatay after ilang days? 120 days, diba? Tandaan nyo yun, ha? After 120 days, namamatay si RBC. On average. And then, once na namatay si RBC, magiging unconjugated siya. Ibig sabihin, pag unconjugated, yun yung bilirubin na fat-soluble or yung hindi na-absorb ng katawan or hindi nagagamit ng katawan. So, meaning, kailangan niyang ma-convert. So, si liver, i-convert siya ni liver into conjugated. Meaning, pwede na siyang humalo sa fluids na meron tayo sa katawan. Like, for example, the blood. So, pwede na siyang, pwede siyang humalo doon. Ibig sabihin, water-soluble na siya. Ilagyan natin ng label. This is fat-soluble. This is water. Okay? Gets ba so far? So, this is the pathophysiology. Ulitin natin. So, si RBC or red blood cells, namamatay siya after 120 days. Pag namatay si red blood cells, nagiging unconjugated bilirubin to. Siya yung fat-soluble na version ng bilirubin. Para pwede siyang ma-used up ng body natin or magamit, si liver, ang trabaho niya is i-convert si unconjugated bilirubin into conjugated. So ngayon, pag conjugated bilirubin na siya, ang nangyayari is, magiging bile na siya. So si bile, pupunta siya sa common bile duct. So, dadaan siya sa common bile duct. Pagdaan ng common bile duct, dadaan siya sa duodenum kasi kailangan siya to absorb fats, vitamin A, D, E, and K. And then, eventually, hahalo yan sa stool. And then, siya yung nagbibigay ng yellowish or brownish color sa stool natin. Kaya yung stool natin nagiging brown or yellow. Kapag ka may barado dito sa pathway, which is in this case, common bile duct daw yung barado. Nasa si common bile duct? Si bile, hindi na siya nakakarating ng duodenum. Kasi nga, si common bile duct, which is yun yung daanan niya, patungo kay duodenum, barado yun. Kasi nga, merong nakabara, yun yung gallstone na nakabara doon. So, meaning, ano bang mangyayari kapag kabarado si common bile duct? Magba-backflow siya ngayon, guys. So, magba-backflow yan. Ngayon, si bile, hahalo yan sa blood. So, si bile ngayon, syempre hahalo yan sa blood, diba? Ngayon, pwede siyang madala sa different parts of the body. So, expect mo na merong yellowish color or discoloration sa skin, sa eyes. So, pwede magkaroon ng yellow sclerae. Light amber urine. Yung light amber urine, is it abnormal or normal? Normal color ng urine yung light amber urine. What's abnormal is the tea-colored urine. And that is also seen kapag ka may blockage yung common bile duct. Kasi nga, yung pati yung urine natin nagkakaroon ng discoloration kasi 'di ba humahalo nga si bile sa blood, nagba-backflow siya. So kapag kasi bile humalo siya sa blood, ano bang trabaho ni kidneys? It filters out blood. Then eventually magiging urine. Eh 'di ba water soluble na nga siya, sabi natin. Water soluble na siya here, oh. So pwede na siyang mag-get together with our blood and bodily fluids, you know. So, nafi-filter out din siya. Kaya siya nasasama sa pag-filter hanggang sa urine, nasasama yung color niya. So, T-colored yung abnormal. Okay? Circummoral pallor. Ano to? It is common for scarlet fever yan. Sa scarlet fever yan siya. Siya common sa, bilirubin. This is yung parang paligid ng mouth nagkakaroon ng paleness or pallor. Diba? Pallor is parang nagiging pale. So, yun. Black tarry stools. O, saan naman daw to common? Naririnig nyo to, diba? Yung mga black tarry stools na yan. Is common for upper GI bleeding. Why upper? Why not lower? The blood, kapag kagaling siya sa upper, saan ba siya dadaan? Usually sa stomach, diba? Dadaan pa siya ng stomach, tapos colon. So, marami siyang dadaanan, guys. And eventually, kapag yung blood, tumatagal yung stay niya, diba, nagiging darker siya eventually. So, yun yung reason. And one of the reasons also is because kapag dumaan siya sa acidic environment ng stomach, parang naluluto siya. Ganun, nagiging sensitive siya sa acidity. So, nagiging black talaga. So, this is a classic sign of upper GI bleeding. And also, it is seen sa mga kumakain ng or nagtitake ng rich in iron or iron supplements. So, mga iron supplements, nagkakaroon din ng discoloration sa kanilang feces. Okay. A female client who has just been diagnosed with hepatitis A asks, "How could I have gotten this disease? What is the nurse's best response?" O paano daw niya nakuha, paano daw na-contract si hepatitis A? Kasi pag plus positive, kapag ka negative, halimbawa ang tanong is, what is the least, or what is the abnormal, or what is the nurse least response? Ganyan. Okay. 1, you may have eaten contaminated restaurant food. 2, you could have gotten by using IV drugs. 3, you must have received an infected blood transfusion. Or 4, you probably got it from engaging in unprotected sex. Okay. First and foremost, how do we transfer hepatitis A? Diba, we have discussed it in our previous videos that hepatitis A and E, which are both vowels, are O, oral or fecal route. So they are all vowels. Yung mga vowels, they are all oral or fecal route. Pwede siyang makakain or pwede siyang nakukuha sa feces. So now, ano ba yung may kinalaman sa pagkain dyan? Ito lang naman. Okay. Yung mga IV, may kinalaman sa blood or bodily fluids. This is bodily fluids din, diba? Yan yung B, C, and D. So, yun yung mga B, C, and D. Okay. B, C, D. Ayan. B, C, D yan sila. Parang yung options lang. B, C, D din pala. So, B, C, D yan sila. Okay. A male client has just been diagnosed with hepatitis A. On assessment, the nurse expects to note. Okay. Ano daw yung ini-expect sa assessment? 1, severe abdominal pain radiating to the shoulder. 2, anorexia, nausea, and vomiting. 3, eructation and constipation. 4, abdominal ascites. Okay. Severe abdominal pain radiating to the shoulder. Ano yan for you? Pagka nagra-radiate siya sa shoulder, the severe abdominal pain. Diba yung mga may referred pain na tinatawag? It is more common to gallbladder. Gallbladder yan siya. Gallbladder related yan. Kapag ka may referred pain ang tawag natin. Pag nagra-radiate yan, referred pain siya. Yun yung tawag doon, referred pain. Sa right side. 2, anorexia, nausea, and vomiting. 3, eructation and constipation. Ano yung eructation? This is also called belching. Or yung dighay. Dighay lang yan. Eructation no? And constipation. May constipation ba sa hepatitis A? Parang wala naman, di ba? Ang X na yan, guys. 4, abdominal ascites. O, ano naman daw to? Di ba pag ascites, parang cirrhosis siya. Liver cirrhosis. Siya hepa A. Or hepatitis, something. So, more on liver cirrhosis yan. Cirrhosis. Cirrhosis. Okay. Why anorexia, nausea, and vomiting? You know what? Kapag may hepa A or hepatitis, usually, ang common manifestations dyan ay parang GI sickness. Yung may mga nausea, vomiting, anorexia, walang ganang kumain. More on GI symptoms, just GI sickness na tinatawag natin. Okay. Which of the following factors can cause hepatitis A? Ano naman daw yung cause? Sinabi na natin, ano ba yung cause ng hepatitis A? Oral fecal route, diba? A and E. Oral fecal. Okay. 1. Contact with infected blood. Mali na agad. 2. Blood transfusion. Mali na again. 3. Eating contaminated shellfish. Or 4. Sexual contact with an infected person. O, mali na to. Kasi nga, blood and bodily fluids yung iba dyan. Ano ba yun? Ito. So, pag blood and bodily or body fluids, mga ano yan, BCD. BCD, hepatitis. Ayun. So, food. Kasi nga oral fecal route nga siya. So, kapag kumain ka ng something na infected ng hepa A, like for example, the shellfish is very common yan na yung mga shellfish natin, sila yung nagko-contract ng hepa A sa dagat kasi nga shellfish sila. So, parang pamugaran sila ng mga madali silang kapitan. Mga ganyan-ganyan. Okay, this is the continuation. Continue na natin para isahan na to. Sinipag yan. Okay, your patient has a retractable gastric peptic ulcer. Okay, and has had a gastric vagotomy. Which factor increases as a result of vagotomy? Oh, anong factor daw nag-i-increase or ano yung factor na nag-i-increase kapag ka nag-vagotomy ka? Medyo tricky yung question na to. So, kung makuha nyo to, edi goods. 1. Peristalsis, 2. Gastric acidity, 3. Gastric motility, or 4. Gastric pH. First, ano ba yung vagotomy na yan? Diba, nagtatanggal ka or nagre-reduce ka ng vagus nerve? Bakit? Ba't kailangan mo mag-reduce ng vagus nerve? Kasi diba, kapag ka may stimulation si vagus nerve or stimulated si vagus nerve, ano ba nangyayari? Diba, nag-i-increase si acid? O, pag nag-i-increase si acid ngayon, ano nangyayari? Nag-i-increase si digestion. May stimulate yung digestion. Yun yung nangyayari kapag ka kumpleto si vagus nerve or kapag ka before ng vagotomy. Kaya nga siya ginawa kasi masyadong mataas si acid production. So, ang goal natin is to pababain si acid. Dapat mababa si acid. O ano ba yung dyan? O sige, go over tayo sa mga options. Ito, test taking strategy, peristalsis at gastric motility. Does it sound or do they sound similar to you? Peristalsis, ano ba yung peristalsis? Diba yun yung wave-like movement sa food natin? Or yung wave-like movement ng food natin sa gastric tract natin or sa GI tract. Ibig sabihin, pareho lang din siya ng gastric motility, guys. Nagmo-motility, kumbaga gumagalaw lang din yun. So, huwag na yan, pareho. Most of the time, kapag both answers are similar, almost always, mali yan pareho. So, eliminate them. They're just telling the same things. Gastric acidity or gastric pH, ano ba ang nag-i-increase? Diba, ito yung pH scale natin. pH ha. Ito ay 1. Ito ay 14. O, dito, sa scale natin, alin ang neutral dyan? Diba ito ay nasa gitna? Neutral siya. Ano si acid? At ano si alkaline? Acid is 1. Acid. Or basic naman to. Base. Or alkaline. Okay. Ang gastric acid, ano ba siya? Acid nga, diba? So, 1. Ibig sabihin, mababa yung pH niya. Ano siya? Ano siya kapag gastric pH ay mataas? Kasi yun yung tinatanong, ano daw yung nag-i-increase? Nag-i-increase ba yung gastric pH kapag pag nag-increase yung gastric pH, ibig sabihin alkaline. Sa vagotomy ba, ano bang nangyayari? Ini-increase ba natin si gastric acid or pinapababa natin? 'Di ba nga pinapababa natin kasi nga mataas masyadong acid? Kasi si vagus nerve ang trabaho niyan is stimulate yung tiyan or maging messenger siya para increase ng masyado yung acid production for digestion. Kasi once nag-stretch si stomach, kasi nga may food doon, for example, kumain ka, tapos yung stomach nag-stretch, si vagus nerve mas-stimulate yan to produce acid. That is the reason why nagkakaroon ng peptic ulcer kasi hindi nawi-withstand ng stomach yung acidity. Kaya ang ginagawa, pinapababa by doing vagotomy. It reduces or nagtatanggal ng part ng vagus nerve para ma-reduce din si acid production. Pag na-reduce si acid production, basic na, di ba? So, nagiging base. Tumataas si gastric pH. So, ito yung tamang sagot natin. Gastric acidity is lowered, increased. Yung pH kasi nag-i-increase, so hindi siya tumataas, guys. Yung gastric acidity, gastric alkalinity, yung tumataas, hindi gastric acidity. Okay? Okay, which of the following mechanisms can facilitate the development of diverticulosis into diverticulitis? Okay. 1. Treating constipation with chronic laxative use. Ay, wait lang. Okay, diverticulosis. Have you heard of diverticulosis before? Diba may tatlo yan? Si diverticulum, diverticulosis, at si diverticulitis. Now, a lot of people or a lot of students are confused about the difference. But it's just simply diverticulosis or diverticulum rather. Pag diverticulum, one pouch lang siya. Kasi yung nangyayari sa ganito, yung diverticulosis, diverticulum, ganun, nagkakaroon ng outpouching. Kumbaga, nagkakaroon ng parang bulsa-bulsa yung large intestines natin. And that happens because of the pressure from being constipated. So, kapag yung fecal matter doon sa yung fecal matter sa large intestines natin, kapag stagnant lang sila, for example, the person is constipated or may paralytic ileus siya lagi, ganun. So, hindi nakakagalaw hindi nagkakaroon ng peristalsis or peristaltic movement yung digested food doon sa large intestine na dapat na i-excrete yun, nagiging tae, diba? So, hindi siya nagagalaw or hindi siya gumagalaw. Ang nangyayari, nandun lang siya, nagsistay lang siya, and naiipon lang yung feces. Ang nangyayari, the large intestine is forced to accompany the large, the force na binibigay ni content doon, yung stagnant content na tae doon. Kasi dapat kasi siya lumalabas siya. Ang problem, hindi siya nakakalabas kasi nga constipated. So, dumadami, it has to expand. It is forced to have these pouches. Parang nag-expand siya. So, ngayon, kapag marami na tong pouch na to, itong diverticulum, one pouch lang. Pag madami na siya, diverticulosis ng tawag. But, they are still asymptomatic. Meaning, walang nararamdaman yung tao. Oo, may ganun. Pero makikita lang siya sa colonoscopy. Pero on a normal basis, kapag di ka pa nagpa-colonoscopy, hindi mo naman malalaman na may diverticulosis ka pala. So, malalaman lang siya, asymptomatic siya. Malalaman lang siya via colonoscopy. Doon makikita, may outpouching na pala. Pero, once it leads to diverticulitis, ito na yung may symptoms kasi nga itis meaning inflammation, inflamed na yan. Inflamed meaning meron na siyang mga manifestation na inflammation like may fever na, masakit na, ganun. May heat na, ganyan. Basta mga signs of inflammation, diba? So, ano daw yung mechanisms na nagli-lead sa development ng diverticulosis into diverticulitis? Ano yung sa options nito? Sa mga options na to, ano yung magli-lead sa diverticulosis na maging infected siya, na mag-develop siya ng diverticulitis? So, 1, treating constipation with chronic laxative use. Treating constipation, leading to dependence on laxatives. Yung dependence sa laxatives, does it directly affect the diverticulosis to be diverticulitis? Nagli-lead ba siya sa infection kapag naging dependent sa laxatives? Hindi pa mas natitreat pa nga yung diverticulosis or nape-prevent si diverticulosis to be diverticulitis kasi nga tinitreat si constipation. This is the culprit kung bakit nagkakaroon ng diverticulosis. And kapag nag-persevere yung yung constipation ng tao na may diverticulosis, possible na magkaroon talaga ng diverticulitis kasi merong food lagi na naiipon doon at napapasok doon sa mga pouches na parang bulsa doon sa large intestines. So, mas lead or nagli-lead pa siya sa infection kung hayaan natin si constipation. Eh, tinitreat nga eh. May treatment oh. So, may laxatives na ginagamit. So, napiprevent si constipation. So, mababa yung risk niya for developing diverticulitis. Diba? Okay. 2. Chronic constipation causing an obstruction, reducing forward flow of intestinal contents. Chronic constipation daw, causing an obstruction, reducing forward flow of intestinal contents. Reducing forward flow meaning nagre-reduce siya ng peristaltic movement na para magpo-forward yung food para eventually may excrete natin sa anus. So, medyo tama naman siya. Okay? Medyo tama naman siya. Pero let's go over other, kasi ang tinatanong dito, paano ba siya nagle-lead into itis o yung may inflammation? Paano siya nagkakaroon ng inflammation? Ano yung mekanismo? Bakit nagiging inflammation si dating hindi naman inflamed? Parang ganun. So, tignan natin. 3. Herniation of the intestinal mucosa, rupturing the wall of the intestine. Herniation and rupturing. Pag may rupturing, ano na to? Perforation na siya, 'di ba? So, ibang usapan na to, guys. Kumbaga parang ano na siya, nabutas na yung walls. Hindi na siya inflammation lang. Hindi na siya diverticulitis lang. Perforation na siya. Perforated diverticulitis. Ibang level na yun. So, medyo malayo na siya. Perforation na kasi to eh. Mga nag-rupture, ganun. May perforation, ibig sabihin nabutas na. Yung mga leaks, ay yung mga laman nun, magli-leak na doon sa neighboring organs. So, ibang usapan na siya. Hindi na siya related sa diverticulitis, malayo na. Okay, 4. Undigested food. Blocking the diverticulum. Predisposing the area to bacteria invasion. Ano ba yung diverticulitis? May inflammation. Bakit? Why nagkakaroon ng inflammation? It's because of the bacterial invasion. Bakit nagkakaroon ng bacterial invasion sa diverticulosis? Eh, di ba nga sabi natin, may outpouching. May mga, parang mga bulsa doon. So, kapag may mga bulsa doon, may possibility talaga na malagyan siya ng food, or rather ng contents ng intestines, and eventually, yung mga bacteria doon sa intestines natin, pwede silang mag-lead to, pwede silang mag-proliferate kasi nga blocked sila ng food or ng undigested food or ng content ng intestines dahil nga may space nga para kumbaga napupunta sila dun. Nagkakaroon ng parang bulsa ganun. So, nagkakaroon ng way para magkaroon sila ng lugar to proliferate and mas risk pa sila sa blockage kasi nga para silang mga bulsa ganun. So, mas sound answer siya and mas complete. Kasi sinasagot niya yung mechanism kung paano nagiging infection yung dating diverticulosis lang into diverticulitis. Sinasagot niya yung tanong. Which is about nga sa bacterial invasion. It's the reason why. That's the danger of having diverticulum or diverticulosis. Your patient post-op drainage of a pelvic abscess secondary to diverticulitis. May abscess na daw siya. Begins to cough violently after drinking water. His wound has ruptured and small segment of bowel is protruding, lumabas. Lumabas daw yung bowel, lumabas daw yung intestines dahil sa pag-ubo niya. Nasira yung wound. Nag-rupture kasi nga umubo siya ng sobrang lakas. Sobrang violent na ubo. So, ano daw yung priority pagka mga ganitong senaryo? Ang tawag dyan, wound dehiscence or wound evisceration. Dalawa yun, diba? Pagka wound evisceration, yun yung lumabas na yung organs. Kapag wound dehiscence, parang nag-separate lang yung tahi ng wound. Pero kapag wound evisceration, yun na yung lumabas na talaga siya. Nakikita mo na yung organ na nag-protrude na, lumabas na doon sa skin. Okay. Ano yung priority? Laging tatandaan, ng priority kapag may mga protrusion ng organs is to keep them moist. Why? If you keep them dry, what happens? It promotes necrosis. So, dapat ang priority mo dito is moisture. Moisture and sterility. Siyempre, dapat sterile pa rin sila kasi nga organs yan. So, hindi mo siya pwedeng lagyan ng kung ano-ano lang na tubig. Ganun. So, dapat sterile. Okay, let's go over the options. So, 1. Ask the patient what happened. Call the doctor and cover the area with A water-soaked bedsheet. Tama na sana tong mga statements na to. Ay, hindi yan. Call the doctor, ask the patient what happened. Pwede naman sana, medyo tama siya pakinggan. Pero yung i-cover mo siya ng water-soaked bedsheet, not specified kung sterile, baka naman tap water lang yun. It promotes infection because tap water is not clean. It's not sterile rather. So it can promote infection. So di lang dapat mga water-water na kung saan lang. Dapat sterile water or sterile solution yung gagamitin natin. Okay, 2. Obtain vital signs, call the doctor, and obtain emergency orders. Obtain emergency orders? Ano yun? Doktor ka ba? Para mag-obtain ng emergency orders. Wala namang emergency. Hindi naman siya emergency case. That happens most often yung nagpo-protrude yung mga ano dahil sa stress tulad ng cough. Yung coughing kasi is a stress na pwede mag-push dun talaga sa organs. Because when you cough, di ba, may stress to break the wound or the sutures. Then, eventually lalabas yun. Kaya nga, may tinatawag tayong half coughing, mga ganong bagay kapag ka nauubo. Para, may mga techniques para hindi madaling masira yung mga sutures and yung wounds, especially post-op. Mga ganun. Common talaga yan. Yun sa post-op, yung mga lumalabas na protrude na organs. Pero, hindi naman siya emergency. So, it is not unnecessary. It's a waste of time to obtain emergency orders. Okay. 3. Have a certified nursing assistant to hold the wound together while you obtain vital signs, call the doctor, and flex the patient's knees. Hold the wound together. Bro, you're holding the wound. Not specified if you're wearing the gloves or clean gloves or sterile gloves. It's a no-no. And you don't need someone to hold it for you. It's not that heavy. Sobrang bigat ba ng organ na nag-protrude at kailangan mo ng assistant? Ano yan? By pair? Yan by pair, girl. Okay, 4. Have the doctor called while you remain with the patient. Flex the patient's knees and cover the wound with sterile towels soaked in sterile saline solution. Okay, when you flex the patient's knees, anong nangyayari? It relaxes abdominal muscles. So this is recommended whenever there's a stress. Like for example, in this case, the wound was separated with coughing violently. So, maganda siyang intervention to help the abdominal muscles to relax. Abdominal muscles. Okay. And sterile towels soaked in sterile saline solution. This is the best answer here. Because you don't want any water lang. For example, ikaw yung may sugat and post-op ka, tapos ilalagay sa nagprotrude, kunyari yung bowel mo. Nagprotrude sa large intestine, tapos ilalagay lang dun sa'yo yung tap water, papayag ka ba? Diba? Hindi. So, hindi yung tamang sagot. It promotes infection. And there's a lot of bacteria na meron sa tap water because it's not filtered ng safe for us. For our internal organs, because our internal organs are sterile. Okay? So, we have to put sterile things too sa internal organs natin. Okay. The student nurse is participating in colorectal cancer screening program, which patient has the fewest risk factor for colon cancer. So, pinakamababang risk factor daw. Janice, a 45-year-old with a 25-year history of ulcerative colitis. Lahat ng inflammatory bowel diseases are risk for cancer. We have to. Namamaga yung colon yan lagi. So, may possibility. Kasi inflammatory bowel disease yan. Taas yung high chance for colon cancer yan. George, a 50-year-old whose father died of colon cancer. Very immediate family na nag-die sa colon cancer. It's very likely na pwedeng nakuha niya yun. Or pwedeng namamana yun sa genes, especially immediate family pa. 3. Herman, a 60-year-old who follows a low-fat, high-fiber diet. Is it good or is it bad? What is the reason why colon cancer is prevalent? Diba, low-fiber diet. Kapag low-fiber diet, mas risk for colon cancer. So, mababa yung risk niya kasi nga low-fiber diet. Kahit na may edad na siya. Yung diet niya is very good. It's good. Low-fat. So, ibig sabihin, mas hindi nagsistay ng mas matagal sa gut or sa GI tract yung food. Kasi kapag ka high in fat kasi ang food, mas matagal matunaw, mas magsistay siya ng mas matagal sa gut. Hindi siya na-eliminate agad. So, hindi siya mas madali or hindi siya ganun kadali i-eliminate as compared to other food or other food elements. So, tama siya. But let's go over the number 4. CC, a 72-year-old with a history of breast cancer. Okay, any cancer, if you have a history of a cancer or any type of cancer, it could be na meron din na ibang type of cancer pa. Kasi nagsimula na nga siya sa ganun. So, very high ang risk nito pagka may mga history na ng other cancers. So, this is the only correct answer. Regardless of the age, because kahit naman may edad na, as long as healthy yung lifestyle, goods yun. Okay, for our last question, which of the following complications is thought to be the most common cause of appendicitis? Ano daw yung most common cause? Yung sinabi din natin is a fecalite. Ay, bakit pa ayun. Kasi nga, fecalite is a taing maliit. It's a small feces na, or it's a small fecal matter na bumabara doon sa appendix and nagli-lead sa obstruction ng venous drainage. Kapag walang masyadong venous drainage doon, nagiging necrotic yung appendix. Tapos, pinapamugaran pa siya ng bacteria. May bacterial invasion doon kasi nga yung gut natin is lined with normal flora ng bacteria na meron sa katawan natin. And kapag trapped sila doon, magpo-proliferate lang yon, magkakaroon ng pus and everything. So, magdadami sila doon, yung mucus and everything na nandoon. Pwede siyang eventually mag-rupture. Kasi gano'n lang naman, maliit lang mga appendix natin. So, pwede talaga siyang mag-rupture. It's a risk for rupture. Kaya ginagawa dyan surgery agad. Wala nang gamot-gamot. Surgery. Total, kapag tinanggal naman yan, halos wala namang magbabago. So, yan. Bowel kinking. Internal bowel occlusion. Masyadong, naman to. Sa large intestine na to din, sa appendix yan. Abdominal bowel swelling. Or, yeah. So, fecalite lang. That's all. See you sa electrolytes natin. May naka-ready na. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.
By the way guys, you can avail my PNLE Reviewer Plus tracker, your review made easy for 99 pesos only, with specific chapters and exams included. All you have to do is to study. Just send a PM to avail the discounted price for my TikTok and YouTube followers. Happy studying, nurses!